Welcome back. We're going to wrap up this 8-inch ring, and if you have not seen the other videos, go back and look at the one where we disassembled the 8-inch ring and we cleaned up all the parts. And there is also a video on the axle bearing that we actually replaced and we installed. So if you haven't seen that, make sure you go back and see it. Now what we're going to do on this video, we're going to go ahead and finalize everything, but we're going to put back the oil seal back into the differential housing. You are thinking about rebuilding a 8-inch ring, you definitely need to see this video, and I'm going to give you the number and the part number and the location, the company where you can find the proper seal to put back into this housing. All right, let's get started. So what we have, the axle bearing is going to sit here, and the lock or the spacer, whichever you like to call it, is going to be along here in the net section, and the oil seal will actually sit down in this lower section. And this is what I needed, and it took me almost a month off and on to actually find these seals. So to install these seals, what we're going to do, you actually need to get a socket. What I'm going to use is a socket, and I have a socket that actually is pretty much close to the same diameter as the seal, and I'm going to get a hammer and just tap onto the socket and just knock my seal back in the differential housing. So we just take our seal out the pack here, and keep in mind you want the lip will always face towards the oil. So always keep that in mind in case you have any questions as to how seal goes back. Now this is the lip here. So and the oil is that way inside of the differential housing. So we just want to put our seal here. Just make sure it's sitting properly. We're going to take the socket, put it right on top of it. Now we will flip it over. And do the same on the other side. And that is what you want. Now that we have both our seals in place on both sides, what we're going to do now is a good time to spray paint the housing. So what we're going to do is just, normally in the past, I would take a spray gun and I would use my hardener, paint, reducer, and just actually paint a differential housing like I would a vehicle. But keep in mind, this channel is all about saving you money and to make your restoration more enjoyable. So what we're going to do, we're going to use a $5 spray can of black and a $5 spray can of clear, and we should have the same results. Well, I believe the differential housing turned out pretty good. It's just amazing how you can use a $5 spray can of clear, black, and see what you have. So I went ahead and did that, and it turned out pretty well. Next, you have seen when we went ahead and prepped our planetary, and only thing we have to do now is just put the gasket on what I call the hog head. Just put the gasket on it and put it back on the housing and slide our axle in. put grease on the outer bearing here. We grease it up pretty good. And then I just took a socket like I did the axle seals. Took a socket, installed it back in place. So that turned out well. And all the bearings turned out good. You seen on the last video. So we just ready to put this back together. This will not take long since we're keeping it standard. Oh, hey, honey.
Hey,
What you got?
look, I got this great idea. Instead of I want to keep my 3.25 gear, but I want to make it positive traction.
Positive traction.
Yeah, because when I hit the gas, I want all the wheels, 2 wheels spinning, not just one.
Hey, okay.
Damn it.
All right, yes ma'am. Thank you so much. All right, that changes everything. That definitely ups the game. Great. Let's get started. See what we have here. Yep. Like she did a good job. Perfect match. So what I'm gonna do, basically, since we're gonna make it positive traction, so what I'm gonna do is just swap out. I'm gonna use this 3.25 gear, and that's what she wants. And I definitely understand, because the gears that you put in a vehicle, you want to make sure it fits your lifestyle. So this vehicle will actually be traveling on I-40, I-95, and it'll be used for going out of town, maybe on hot rod power tour trips. It will be actually traveling out of state. So that's why she wants to keep the 3.25 gear, but she wants positive traction. So basically just going to take this gear off, the ring gear, and we're going to continue to use both of these gears go together to make 3.25. So we don't have to do anything to this gear. We're just going to leave this unit all together, remove it, put on new bearings, put it back, set the backlash, we're good to go. I want to go ahead and just mark my caps here. And you don't have to do this. It's just an old habit that I like to do. Really, you only have to just do one. Now I'm going to pull my caps off. These are your adjustments. You're going to lock your adjustments in place, because we're going to move our ring gear. We're going to set our backlash. We'll move it to the right or to the left. Just make sure we get rid of our backlash, or we had a proper backlash. And we'll remove our cap. So don't be surprised if you can't just pull them right on up. And what we can do, we can actually turn it out and loosen it up, and eventually the cap can just come up, or we just go ahead and just pull them out completely. And keep in mind, when we make our adjustments, we actually going to have the bolts loose, because that's going to be the only way best way you can actually make your adjustments. There we go. Keep that together. Not that it really matters, because we can actually mix it up and it won't be a problem. Just break it loose. There we go. Just loosen up a little bit, and that's what we have. So you may ask yourself, Dairle, why don't you just take these bearings off and use them for this planetary? Well, hey, listen, the trouble that it takes to pull these off, and not to mention how I will actually damage them to get them off, I'd rather just go ahead and just slap in new bearings. And on top of that, while we at it, just put in new bearings. So we're gonna move these to the side. Now, what I want is this ring gear. Wow, that bearing looks, it's still pretty decent. It's time for new bearings anyway. So what I'm gonna do with this, I'm just gonna put it in a box somewhere, and maybe 25, 50 years from now, after we all, well, I'll be long gone, that who knows, someone may wanna use this. But right now, I know everybody will rather use this. Using a 3/4. Let's move this out of my way. Lay it on the side here. Now that we have removed the ring gear from the planetary and the pinion, we don't have to do anything to that, and the bearing checked out fine, so we don't have to do anything to that. There is no pivot marks. So what we need to do, before you can put this in a box and just pack it away, there is a sleeve right here. Sleeve right here. So we're going to have to remove this bearing in order to get this sleeve off. There are several ways that you can do this. You have seen in some of my videos, I actually cut the bearing off with a torch. You can take a chisel, a punch, and a hammer and knock it off. Or you may have access to a press that you can actually get this bearing off. And the sleeve should be no problem to tap out with a hammer and a punch. there is a slot here that you can put the punch right in this slot, and there's one on the other side right here. So you can just put your punch there and just hit the back of the bearing to knock it down. Just put it right there, take your hammer, and just hit the heck out of it. Needless to say, we're not going to be able to use this bearing again. Not that we want to. So that's what you want. And that wasn't too bad. Now we need to get this sleeve off. There she go. All right, pull out our new toy. Guys, I want to point out one thing. Now, on this brand here, it's going to be bigger than your original 8-inch planetary. So I went ahead and I ordered the bearings that will fit a 8-inch planetary, and it fits fine on this, but it's not big enough for this. So don't be alarmed. So I had a part number for this, as you can see in the screen, and I'm going to go ahead and get that part number, get both of the bearings, the race, cup, go ahead and put them on. And like I said, don't be alarmed. And the ring gear fits perfect. But like I said, this is a bigger unit than your original 8-inch unit. Now I want to point out another thing. Don't be alarmed. This sleeve that I have taken off, it's not necessary to actually take off. Now, I have done several 8-inch ring-ins, but this is the first time I actually ran across this sleeve. And keep in mind, this is a 63, and the ones I have taken off, they are 70 model 8-inch ring-ins. But I noticed there's oil slots. There's oil gallery here and one here. So, and the way the sleeve was, actually, it's this cup right here. It has 2 ports, and what it's for, when it's rotating, is actually going to force oil to actually be able to go inside of the oil gallery here, and it feeds the bearing and the gears. It actually feeds them. So when you look at your new planetary positive traction, you're not going to have that. So if you bring that up to them, they're not going to know what you're talking about, because it's not made for that. So there's no need to have a sleeve for your new planetary positive traction differential. So just keep that in mind. So don't worry about taking off your bearing like I did and actually remove this sleeve, because you will not need it. That pretty much wraps it up, because I'm going to have to go out and get new bearings for the new positive traction ring-in. And it's definitely worth it. On the next video, we will wrap this up. It'll be a video on converting standard differential to positive traction differential. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to let you know when the video is actually coming out. And I want to thank all my subscribers. Take care and God bless.